Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, and that was Finster whizzing by, here with the 5 greatest Puccini Sopranos. Now, Puccini Sopranos come in 2 flavors, vanilla and chocolate. And let's look at who they are a little more closely. The vanilla Sopranos are the frail, wilting wallflowers who get tortured and die horribly. That was Puccini's favorite flavor, by the way. And they include people like, well, Manon is sort of, but Mimi. Mimi is the biggie. And Sor Angelica, and Liu in Turandot, and of course, Madame Butterfly, who's the other really, really biggie. Those are the vanilla Sopranos. That doesn't mean that they're flavorless. Vanilla can be quite yummy, but they are sweet and nice, and they get pulverized. And Puccini has an absolutely sadistic relish in doing the pulverizing. Then there are the chocolate Sopranos. They're a little richer, denser, more decadent. The chocolate Sopranos have a stronger personality. Those are the creatures like, well, Tosca. Tosca's definitely a chocolate soprano. Turandot, absolutely. I mean, she's a totally chocolate soprano. And of course, what's her name? Minnie in La Fanciulla del West, as if anybody cares about Minnie. And, so those are the chocolate sopranos. And so you tend to get singers who specialize in one or the other. Seldom both. But sometimes you do. And the results can be quite interesting. So let's see who are the greatest 5, absolutely greatest Puccini Sopranos. First, Renata Tebaldi. Clearly, I mean, there's a whole box of Puccini with Renata Tebaldi. She didn't do Turandot, she did Liu, but she also did Tosca. So she could sort of, she was a vanilla chocolate swirl, let's call it. She had a gorgeous voice, she had the style, she had the temperament, she had the idiom, and she made some terrific Puccini records. Let's just leave it at that. She has to be on any short list. Then, Renata Scotto. Scotto was a real Kunstdiva. She was a smart, wonderfully affecting singer. The last time I saw her, I think, was in that the Verdi Macbeth at the Met that got trashed, because the production got trashed. But she did a sleepwalking scene that was unbelievable. I mean, she's this tiny little thing on this enormous empty stage, and she floated a few high notes that were just exceptional. She was a bit like Maria Callas in that her voice started to go fairly early on in her career, but the acting, the drama, the intensity, whoa, baby, she was really terrific. So Scotto did, well, she's most famous for her Madame Butterfly with Barbaroli, which is for many the reference recording of that. She brings so much to that role. But she also did, some of the Tridico babes, excuse me, and an excellent Tosca that nobody seems to talk about on EMI, with James Levine conducting. It was really, really good. So Scotto definitely also gets up there, I think. She's really a tremendously, tremendously powerful singer. Then we have Victoria de los Angeles. Victoria de los Angeles, however you want to say it. Victoria de los Angeles was definitely vanilla. I mean, she was really seriously vanilla, but wonderfully vanilla. She had such naturalness, such clarity of diction and ease of, the way she sang was so lovely and effortless and touching. Really, she was the Mimi par excellence in the Beecham Bohème, singing with Jussi Björling. She also did Butterfly. She did Angelica and Loretta, what's her name? The one who sings O mio babbino caro. I never remember names. I just don't. But I think that's who it is. Loretta, is that her name? Anyway, she sings that. And she was really a remarkable singer in the roles that she took. And she was a smart singer. She knew what she could do. And she very seldom ventured into territory that was uncongenial to her. She understood, what her strengths were, and she usually played to them. So unquestionably, we have to have Victoria de los Angeles. Then, of course, there's Maria Callas. You got to have Maria Callas. If it's an Italian opera, how can you not have Maria Callas? Callas regarded the Verismo repertoire in Puccini as slumming. It was sort of cheap tricks and effects. She always preferred to do the bel canto difficult stuff, the more difficult stuff. But boy, did Callas have temperament. Oh my God. So she could do Butterfly. She could impersonate a little girl, one of Puccini's little girl types. And her Tosca is the stuff of legends. She did it twice, remember? And the first one with Victor de Sabata and all those people was like, the reference Tosca. And it still is. I think her Turandot was sensational. Even though the voice wasn't in the best shape at the time, the enunciation, it's a character who's totally unsympathetic. Completely, totally, absolutely unlovable. But she really, really inhabited the role, and she made you believe that her hatred and pathological detestation of male kind had some sort of basis. She was amazing. So absolutely Callas. And last, but certainly not least, Mirella Freni. Freni was fascinating. I think she's a fascinating singer. I really did. She started out in lighter roles. She was everybody's favorite Micaela in Carmen. Nobody cares about Micaela. But as her career advanced, she started taking on some heavier things. The voice darkened a bit, but she became a superb Puccini singer. And she didn't do Turandot, obviously, but she could do everything else just about. And at Sinopoli's excruciatingly slow tempos, too. Some really, really remarkable Puccini singing, gorgeous Puccini singing in all of, just about all the major Puccini roles. So I think she was really, maybe the last great Puccini soprano, sort of a golden age Puccini type voice. Her recordings are, I think, magnificent, even though Sinopoli and some of her accompanists could be kind of perverse. She was a Karajan protege as well, and he managed not to destroy her voice, which was really an amazing thing. She deserves lots of credit for that. But Freni's Puccini is always a joy to listen to. And so there you have it, the 5 greatest Puccini sopranos. Now, you may have your own list. I can't wait to hear it. Let's try to leave out some of these, little, strange backwater, unwashed Italian babes who did a record or two back in the 40s and 50s. We all know about like Toti Dal Monte and, Maria Cebottare and, who's the one who wound up working at the Rome Department of Motor Vehicles, that a bunch of you mentioned. I forget what her name was, but she was there too. Let's stick to the really great ones, shall we? So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.